Hey Cavs fans, welcome to another episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast, the podcast for diehard Cavs fans. And diehard Cavs fans out there, it's been a little while since we've talked to you. Corey here along with Alex. And Alex, man, how's your summer going? You having a good summer so far?
Yeah, man, it's going good. Just spent a week out in the wilderness with the Boy Scouts. I helped out at the Boy Scout summer camp up at Camp Cole Canoe Base up in Michigan.
That's right. You did go. You did tell me about that. Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
Getting to enjoy some more family time. The kids out from school. It's been hotter than heck around here lately. But we finally have some Cavs basketball to talk about, some news. And it's been a little while. We haven't done an episode, Alex, since the Cavs have been eliminated from the playoffs. And we kind of both said, let's take a breather. Let's wait till something actually happens. And the Cavs have made some decisions here. And it's around the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, as they have fired JB Bickerstaff. And let's start there. And this happened a couple weeks ago now. But when you saw the news that the Cavs fired JB for the first time, what was kind of your initial reaction?
It wasn't unexpected. I'd say it was probably 50-50 that it was going to happen. I hoped that to fire a coach that has improved every season and just taken you to the conference finals and lost to the best team in the league, the team that ended up being the champions, that what more could he have done? And if they were going to fire him, I would hope that they would have some legendary coach lined up to take his place, right?
Yeah. Let's back up here a second. Is there an asterisk next to that NBA championship? I gotta ask. I gotta get your opinion on that.
Why are you saying because? Yeah, I know what you're getting at, yeah, right? Like, what if they had Jared Allen?
Are they really the best team?
Yeah.
Like,
what if they had Jared Allen? What if they had Donovan Mitchell those last two games?
Yeah. What about all the other teams they played throughout their whole entire playoff run? Every team star went down. So, a championship is a championship. We certainly would take it if it was the Cavs sitting there. But to say that the Cavs lost to the best team, I don't know. What's kind of crazy, though, is, and this is just the way the NBA goes, and not saying that's like a given that the Cavs get past Boston if Jared Allen's healthy, if Donovan Mitchell doesn't get hurt, if we don't have all the injuries we were having. The Cavs would have been playing a different style of basketball than what they did, because they played with some grit because they had to, because they didn't have their superstar players. But just imagine if the Cavs somehow magically got past Boston, or even made that maybe a 7-game series. Does JB still get fired? I don't know. I think it's a much tougher decision for the Cavs to fire JB in that scenario. So it's kind of also just the luck of how things happen, right? Health hasn't been on our side for years now. And ultimately, hey, the luck didn't go JB's way, and the Cavs decided it was time to part ways.
Yeah, I want to give JB the benefit of the doubt and think that he did the best that he could with what he had. But at the same time, there were some comments that came out from Marcus Morris.
Dropping bombs, man.
Yeah, kind of letting out some locker room, some news that you don't really hear players say. Things about, JB had lost the locker room, or he couldn't believe how JB was running practices and kind of micromanaging the players.
Yeah.
So I've got to think that played a significant part in it, and not just, the team's overall performance. Like, there had to have been more going on behind the scenes for JB to lose that position after continually improving the team every season he's been there.
Yeah, and it's just the way it goes in the NBA. He was here technically 5 seasons, but the first season, he was here, a handful of games only. So really, it was 4 full seasons. And the last 2 years, get to the playoffs, 4 seed, kind of had disappointing exits for different reasons in both years. But when an organization in the NBA just isn't seem to be getting over the hump, and then on top of it, you have this superstar on your team where there's kind of a contract scenario coming up, and you don't meet expectations unless that superstar is really vouching for your head coach. The head coach is going to be the first to go. They're always the scapegoat in a scenario like this. And the Cavs, just JB's time was up. Unfortunately, he finished with a record, over 500 coaching as a Cavalier head coach in those 5 seasons, 170 wins to 159 losses, which puts him just over 500, and 2 playoff appearances. And he did take this team and put them in a better place than when he first got here. Colin Sexton days and all that stuff to where we're at now. So, it was a good journey for him, but it was just at that point, Alex, where he needed basically to get past Boston at minimum, I think, to save his job this year. He needed to get out of the second round.
Yeah, I would agree, but I still think there had to have been more behind it. I mean,
Sure.
just speculating, because I think his overall coaching performance was pretty solid. You know, it was good enough to keep his job, in my opinion. I just think that maybe in some of the player exit interviews, things were said by the players that the front office just thought that there needed to be a change, regardless of how well the team did or how they had improved.
Sure. So the JB chapter comes to an end, and the Cavs then start, obviously, a search for a new head coach. Early on, Alex, the names that were popping up were really not household names, I would say, by any means. But the Cavs, they made their decision, and they announced a new coach this week, and they decided to go with assistant head coach. I believe he was the lead assistant head coach for the Warriors, or he was on the Warriors staff under Steve Kerr, and the Cavs have decided to go with Kenny Atkinson. Any initial thoughts there when you heard that, or during the coaching search? Was there anybody that you liked more than somebody else, or you're kind of just meh on all the names that were being thrown out there?
No, when JB got fired, I did look and see, kind of peruse the list of people that I thought could take over head coach, or maybe people that I thought would make a good head coach, and I just couldn't come up with anything that I thought was like, that I thought would be that much of an improvement over JB. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some examples, but I even went back to like some coaches that were fired the previous season or the previous couple seasons, some household
Sure.
name coaches. But there wasn't any that I came across that I thought, oh yeah, this would be a huge upgrade. When they it came down to the names that were being floated were Kenny Atkinson and James Borrego,
Yep.
and there was even one more, Chris Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
But between the three of them, I didn't really have a preference. I was kind of leaning towards Kenny Atkinson just because he was on that Golden State team. He was underneath Coach Steve Kerr, and I thought that he had already coached Jared Allen and Karis LeVert, and I thought that if the front office went to Karis LeVert and Jared Allen, what would they say about Kenny Atkinson? And I thought that might be what kind of makes their decision.
Yeah, I like the fact that he has a relationship with some of the current players on the team from when he last was a head coach, which was back in 2016, 2017 is when he took over as head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. And he came into the Nets situation, before Kyrie and KD and all them came in. Harden shows up, and they basically pick their own coach at that point. So Atkinson was shown the door after 4 years. They bring in Steve Nash. That was a disaster. But it's kind of similar. Brooklyn's situation was kind of similar to how when Atkinson got there, it was similar to JB when he got to the Cavs, to where, they were kind of a young, struggling team. They were 20-62 that first year he takes over.
Like
And by year 3,
Joe Harris was one of their lead scorers, right?
Joe Harris, one of the lead scorers. And by year 3, by 2018, 2019, they sneak into the playoff as a 7 seed. They don't do much when they get there, but the trend was starting to happen to where that team was starting to come together. And looking at the roster for that 2018-2019 season, this is like Jared Allen days, D'Angelo Russell, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Damari Carroll. That's what that squad was. Because again, this is before KD and everybody else showed up.
That was a fun team. That was a fun young team.
Yeah,
even though they didn't have a great overall record, like I always thought that was a good, entertaining team. I enjoyed when the Cavs played against them.
Yeah, it's like and we all know that Jared Allen and LeVert and even D'Angelo, like all those guys have evolved since then. So I don't know what the ceiling would have been for that team, but Atkinson was starting to right the ship there and starting to build something there. And I like what you said about Jared Allen, because there was a video that surfaced up recently after the hire was announced. He was on JJ Redick's podcast at one point, and he talked about Atkinson. And this is, again, before the hire and all that. And he just talked about how he felt it was a good situation and where he felt everybody just bought in to the system and into the coach, essentially, which is crucial. And he said he was just having fun, basically, and the team was just having fun. And that's what you want. You want that culture to where not, if true, what we heard afterwards of what the culture was like, not the greatest, right? You want to hear that, like, yes, the team is bought in to who the head coach is, the system they're running, and just like a family, you know what I mean? And the sense that I got from that Jared Allen interview, at least, was that was starting to be built with Atkinson while he was out in New Jersey coaching that team.
Yeah. I like the pick. Don't get me wrong. Is it a huge upgrade over JB? I have no idea. Time will tell.
Yep.
But so far, I like what I'm hearing about it. There was also a report that Donovan Mitchell signed off on it.
Yeah.
I don't know how legit that is either, but I've got to imagine that they talked to Donovan Mitchell and probably Garland and a few of the other players before they made the final decision.
Yeah, there was reports that Atkinson and Mitchell actually got to speak to each other. I think that was from Woj, or no, not Woj, Windhorst. Wow, talk about two complete ends of the spectrum there. But Windhorst has been all over since the hire. He's been calling in to the Rizzo show and all that crap. But
that was some Windhorst shade there.
Yeah, a little bit, huh? But yeah, there was reports of that. And the overall sense I got from the coaching hire was, yeah, for the most part, fans were like, okay, just pick somebody at this point, because it doesn't really feel like there's some kind of clear, like, yes, you know what I mean? Kind of like what you were saying. But the one thing that has seemed to kind of rile up the fan base a little bit, and some of this could just be overblown social media BS, but the fact that about a week ago, it was Leanin Borrego, and then Dan Gilbert held a meeting like a week ago today, so like last Wednesday or somewhere around there, and then all of a sudden Atkinson gets the job. So the take there is that this was a Dan Gilbert pick. And Dan Gilbert has also picked guys like John Beanline, David Blatt. He wanted Tom Izzo a couple years ago. You know what I mean? So some people are rubbed the wrong way, but at the end of the day,
I don't believe any of that's true. I'm not buying
I totally
into
believe
that.
it. I totally buy it.
You totally believe it?
I totally buy it.
Oh man, I don't believe everything I read, and that's something. That's another one of those reports that's got no source.
It's all over the place.
Somebody pushing a narrative that Dan Gilbert gotten involved in. Oh no, it's Beeline and Blatt all over again.
It's not like one source saying that.
I'm not buying it.
Hey, at the end of the day, he's the owner of the team. So,
I'm sure they came to him when they had, hey, Dan, we're down to these two candidates. What do you think? I'm sure that's what happened. Not, hey, we want to hire this guy, and Dan was like, no, we're going with this guy. Like that. Right. There's no way that happened.
Sure. He could have gave his 2 cents, and that 2 cents is what leaned it Kenny's way. But there was reports early on in the offseason that Gilbert was going to be more involved in the offseason this year. So um, it is what it is. I think the good thing is this isn't a guy from Europe, aka David Blatt. This isn't a guy that we're trying to steal from a college team. Tom Izzo, like this is a guy that's been in the NBA, has been a head coach before, so there's a little bit more credibility behind the Kenny Atkinson hire, whether or not Dan Gilbert's fingerprints were all over it. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. Um, Obviously, they had to go with him for a reason. Hopefully his style, his offensive pace, all of that is hopefully different. And I think another thing is Evan Mobley. I would really like. I'm really hoping, and this is one of the other things that kind of dropped after the season came out, was like there was the report of, well, the Cavs didn't really want to draft Evan Mobley necessarily, but they felt they had to take him at the slot they were at and based on availability and all that. And then the other thing that came out was Mobley's development was put aside in order for us to prioritize winning basketball games. Now, again, I don't know how much truth there is behind all that, but I feel like it's fair to say that and injuries played a part, and we saw some things at the end of the year, but did Mobley really take that jump last season? No, not the jump that we were hoping for, right? So I'm hoping in Atkinson's system, whatever he's going to do, Mobley's getting a lot more touches, right? And is more a part of the offense, which is also going to allow him to develop and so on and so forth. So the prospects of that potentially happening, is enough for me as a Cavs fan to buy in. And I'm just curious to see what he's going to do with the roster.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other thing is that Kobe Altman, I mean, he's got some decisions to make, and it's kind of Kobe Altman's kind of been out of the limelight for quite a long time since he got that DUI. So I think that's pretty interesting and kind of amusing that
he's in a different role though too now. Remember, he got bumped up to what, president, or he's not technically GM anymore. I couldn't even tell you.
That's true.
The name of the GM.
He's like president of basketball operations.
Yeah,
and GM or
maybe. Yeah, whatever. But it'll be interesting. He's the next guy on the chopping block. If another year or two goes by and expectations, haven't been met, that'll be the next change, the next major change I think you'll see. But details haven't come out yet on the contract for Atkinson. At the end of the day, as a fan, do we really care? It'll be 3-4 years, something like that, and a boatload of money. The Cavs will still be paying JB because the Cavs had just, extended his contract a year or so back. So they'll be paying him on the books for the next couple of years. And then we got to see how Atkinson fills out the rest of his coaching staff, right? His assistants and so on and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. We did dodge a bullet, Alex. We didn't go with the JJ Redick angle that Los Angeles decided to go. So I think that's a win there. But hey, the Cavs have a new head coach, and it's the beginning of a new era, and we'll see where it goes, man.
The other thing about the the Dan Gilbert getting involved thing, I saw a comment from one of the Cavs beat writers. I can't remember if it was Chris Fedor or Fedor, or who's the other one? Who's the other?
I don't know. There's
Cavs
a couple.
beat writer.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah. One of them said that if it was like a Dan Gilbert special, like everybody is saying it is, then it would have been him throwing $100 million at Dan Hurley, the one the guy the Lakers tried to go after from UConn.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. That is something Dan Gilbert would have done if he was truly involved.
And I'm pretty positive there's not a single Cavs beat writer that is technically popular from the fan base. They all get beat up pretty good from what I see. Whenever they release an article or a comment, it's I don't know.
Yeah, man, the name's slipping me now, and he is a popular one. I think he's one of the more level-headed ones. And
Sam Amico?
No. I mean, Sam used to be great back in the day.
Yeah, Sam the man. Man, I still miss his chats,
His live chats?
his live
Yeah.
chats, like in the middle of the day. You and I, it'd be like 11 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And it's like, are you ready for the live chat? During work hours and all that stuff. And I look forward to that every week.
Those were great. There'd
Yeah.
only be like a dozen people asking questions, so he would
Yep.
like answer your questions live about the
Yep.
team.
Yep. It was good stuff. So, like you said, the Cavs also have some other decisions to make, and some players have some decisions to make. And really, the next major domino to fall in the Cavs offseason is most likely going to be Donovan Mitchell, right? And this, his contract extension. The Cavs, it's been rumored, a lot here that the Cavs are ready to offer him a 4-year, max deal, which I think was 207 mil, I want to say. Uh,
Yeah.
seems kind of low, but I don't know if the Cavs can technically offer. I don't know. I just saw Scotty Barnes get a 5-year, $275 million offer from Toronto. But that's rookie contract versus non-rookie. Like, I don't know how all that works. But the reports that I've seen is 4 years, 207 or 209, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was something just a little over $50 million a year.
Right. So, which is bonkers, by the way. Like, the NBA is just out of control with these contracts. And that just tells you, because like everybody hates on the NBA. I'm not going to watch that anymore because there's blackouts. Well, guess what? If Donovan Mitchell can make $50 million a year, there's plenty of people that are still watching. And that's just crazy to think about, because think of how many people watch, but illegally. Imagine if there was a way that you had an easy, affordable way to watch NBA, like their bottom line would they would even be making more money. But it's kind of crazy what the contracts are these days. But I have a hard time, Alex, believing whether Donovan Mitchell wants to be here long term or not. I'm going to throw that caveat out there. I have a hard time seeing him turn down the money because nobody can offer more than the Cavs.
All signs point to him re-signing. If you follow him on Instagram, he's posting all this stuff, wearing Cleveland Cavalier t-shirts, going to Guardian games, hugging Jared Allen.
Yep.
It's all lots of Cleveland-centric stuff. Sitting at a restaurant holding a cup that says Cleveland on it,
yeah.
Everything points to him being all in on re-signing with Cleveland.
He's not turning down the money. I don't see it happen, and I'm just ready for that domino to fall so the Cavs can actually start their offseason, decide what they're going to do with Isaac Okoro. Mobley is eligible to get a contract now, and now trade season is here. All that, like the offseason can officially start after Donovan Mitchell makes his decision, I feel, which I think will be coming any day now. I really do. After the Cavs hired their coach, and at least according to the reports, Mitchell has signed off on that coaching decision. I feel like I'd be shocked if we go another week or so and the Mitchell decision has not come yet. At the end of the day, he's going to get paid. Might as well get paid the most he can get paid. And we all know in today's NBA world, if a player's not happy, they're still going to get paid, and there's ways to get out of it, right? So get paid today, and if a year or two down the line, things aren't going the way you want, I hope he doesn't, but we've seen it happen how many times now where players can force their way out, or the team can decide to move on if things aren't developing at the rate they want. But yeah, I'm excited for that news to drop, Alex, because then I feel like everything else can kind of start to come into place.
July 1st, isn't that the date?
I don't know the date. I
think it's July 1st is the first day they can sign an extension.
Yeah, but they could verbally agree tomorrow. I mean, there's already news has already come out on several Malik Monk out in Sacramento, Scotty Barnes.
Nobody cares about those guys.
I know, but
they can verbal commit all they want. Who cares?
Carlos Boozer, man. Carlos Boozer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a clown.
Make him sign July 1st, if that's the date. But yeah, man, so it's good. The Cavs, I'm just, whatever. Good run under JB. Could have been better. Rotations were questionable at times. But at the end of the day, we were better off when he left than what we were when he came on. So I think overall it'll be looked at as, more positive than negative. And I'm just excited to see now that the finals are done, and I'm starting to get those Woj notifications and Shams notifications and just seeing transactions starting to happen. I'm getting that itch again. I've been enjoying a little bit of a break here, but now I'm starting to get that itch again for basketball. Now that I'm seeing, off season social media start to light up again. The NBA draft is the day we'll be releasing this, which is Wednesday. This will be coming out. Before we talk about the draft, I don't know how many people caught this, and I don't think you and I have talked about it, so I wanted to get your opinion on this first. But the draft will now be held over a period of 2 days. Alex, did you catch that when that was announced a while back?
I did. Yeah, I did catch that.
What's your thoughts on that? Like, they're trying to go NFL style, right? Where the NFL
very,
is
very NFL style. Very NFL. A lot more, I don't know, production of the whole thing, trying to make it a show, trying to get people to watch it.
But I guess
I mean,
and it's being done technically in 2 locations. I think the second night is in New York, and I think the first night is in Brooklyn or something. So it's not crazy far away, but I know it's 2 different locations. But I mean, the problem here is as a fan, are you really excited to tune in that second night for a second round pick? Because it's different than the NFL, to where a second round pick can still net you a very nice player. Like, it's not like that in the NBA.
I still would, just for the Cavs, because they're, my team. But I wouldn't, watch the entire second round. No.
It's kind of, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The Cavs only have a single pick unless they make a trade somewhere. They have the 20th pick in the first round this year, so no need to tune in the second night. I would just be paying attention to Twitter or something like that to see if the Cavs do anything, make a trade or whatever. But I think it's different. I think it's interesting. And way back when, in like the 80s, I want to say, there used to be 6, 7, 8 rounds in the NBA playoffs. And it's like, I'm pretty positive they did that all in one day.
In the playoffs.
or I'm sorry, draft. In the draft. rounds in the draft. Because I've gone back and looked at old drafts for like the Cavs, and it's a lot. It's like I could hardly find somebody that's a name I can remember or even know about. But there's selections made in like the 7th round of like the 1983 NBA draft and stuff like that. Like, they used to go crazy deep with how many rounds they used to do. And like, that was all, I don't think that was done over several days. So it's kind of different. It's kind of extreme. We'll see if it flops or not. But I wanted to get your take on that first. So the Cavs have, as of now, 1 draft pick, 20th pick in the draft. You and I have always said every year, Alex, we're always honest when it comes to this type of thing. We're Cavs fans. We're not really big college hoops fans. March Madness is fun to kind of watch for those couple weeks, but we're not sitting here scouting players and can go in depth into who we think the Cavs would be a good fit and all that stuff. So, but like, what's your thoughts on the draft this year? Like, do you even care who the Cavs select? And another question would be is more of, what do you think the Cavs should be looking for at that 20th pick? Like, what is a need that needs filled that you would like to see the Cavs address through that 20th pick if they keep it and use it?
I'm going to agree with your first point there, that I really don't care. And it doesn't matter who they pick. The Cavs are in win now mode, and no one that they draft as a rookie is going to help them win now, in my opinion, especially at number 20, especially when we got guys sitting on the bench like Imani Bates that, probably could have been developed a little more last season to see if they could help us. And we did nothing with them. I really don't see anybody that we draft tomorrow helping this team get to the finals.
It's interesting because at first I kind of had the same take. Like, my take was going to be, okay, if whoever they take at the 20th pick is getting actual, like, somewhat consistent minutes throughout the NBA season this upcoming season, the Cavs are in trouble. That means they got injuries, or they made some sort of trade, and now they're relying on this pick to be the backup big to Evan Mobley because they moved Jarrett Allen and didn't get a big back in that trade, or something extreme like that, to where, like, I was like, no, we don't want to be in that situation, right? To where this 20th pick is relied on for any kind of heavy or consistent minutes, in any way, because you're right. The Cavs are in win mode, should be in win mode now. This window won't last forever. And you need to continue to improve, which means make it to the playoffs again and go beyond what, the second round, essentially. At the same time, the 20th pick, man, I don't have examples right off the top of my head, but just there's been players taken beyond the 20th pick, beyond the first round, that have turned in to NBA superstars.
Absolutely.
It can happen. And we all hate Carlos Boozer, but to be honest with you, he was one of them. He was a second round pick. You know what I mean? And there's countless other ones. So you just never know. There's always, some diamond in the rough. But if there's anything that I want to take away from the 20th pick, if the Cavs use it, is addressing some sort of need, a depth need. Yes, we still need a freaking starting small forward, but I don't want you to draft my starting small forward for the upcoming season on the 20th pick of the NBA draft this year. I want you to back up. I want you to fill another need that's on the bench. Do we need another backup big to be in the rotation? Do we need another backup guard or another forward? Something like that's what I want them to address. And going to your comment about, like, they're not going to be any good or anything. We've had undrafted players that have been able to contribute to this team over the years. Craig Porter Jr. was the most recent one. Dean Wade, undrafted player. Matthew Dellavedova, undrafted player. Max Strus was an undrafted player. Chetty Osman.
Yeah, but not rookies.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
They weren't like rookies. They didn't help their team as rookies.
Not as rookies.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about a rookie here.
Right. But what I'm saying, though, is don't just discard
eventually
that 20th
one day,
pick.
sure.
Don't just discard that 20th pick, because all it takes is an injury or two, and that player gets an opportunity to play a couple games, and then boom, the Cavs fan base falls in love with them because they hit 3 threes or something like that in a game, and it's just your legend for life at that point.
Craig Porter Jr. didn't get any minutes.
Nope, he didn't. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, I'm kind of just, by the time it's a 20th pick in the draft tomorrow night, I mean, it's 11 o'clock, somewhere around there tomorrow night, at least. It takes forever to get through that draft lottery, it feels like. And I don't know if I'm necessarily be like staying up glued to my phone to see who the Cavs take at the 20th pick.
Yes, you will.
I don't know. I might.
I was just looking at some mock drafts. Just this NBC Sports one has Cleveland taking Keyshawn George from Miami.
I read a couple mock drafts before we recorded, and I didn't really care about the names so much because, again, I couldn't name anybody, right? I was looking more at what positions were they forecasting the Cavs might select. And I saw one that was a point guard. I saw one that was a forward. I saw one that was a center. Like I've seen them all over the place. And we know how the mock draft game works, right? You basically just, as a writer, you try to just get in the ballpark, but you have to switch it up. Every week there has to be a new mock draft, so you have to shuffle things around.
Right.
But that's what I've been more paying attention to, is like, well, what position will they draft? That's what I'm curious to see.
I think we got to talk about the elephant in the room.
Uh-oh.
Are they going to draft Bronny James, Corey?
I saw an article the other day that made me laugh, made me chuckle. I didn't even read it. All I saw was the headline. The Cavs could hold Bronny James hostage at pick number 20. The hell, man.
Hostage.
It's
an odd choice of words.
It's a very odd choice.
Why would it be hostage?
The other one that I got a kick out of, and this one was right before we started recording, was a suggestion. This must be like some Phoenix Suns beat writer page or fan page. But but there was an article that was written up of who would say one of those who would say no in this trade scenario, and it was Evan Mobley for Kevin Durant straight up. There's all sorts of Evan
Crazy.
Mobley for Kevin Durant straight up. Who says no? And they try to justify why both teams wouldn't say no. They would both say yes. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff out there. It's the NBA offseason, Alex. But the Bronny James things it ain't happening. It's not happening. LeBron ain't going anywhere. The Lakers are going to offer him stupid money till he's 41 years old. I don't know where Bronny ends up, but it ain't going to be in Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of reports saying the Lakers could grab him. I don't know. I don't think he's a great pick to begin with. He's not a great prospect from everything that I've seen. What do they have to lose taking him?
Depends. You know? I don't know what pick they're at. I guess it depends. I don't know if they have multiple picks or not. You know, it depends, I guess. Are you gonna if you had the 16th pick in the draft and you're the Lakers, are you really drafting Bronny James? Probably not. If you have the 39th pick in the draft and he's still sitting there, are you drafting Bronny James? Probably will. You know what I mean? It just comes down. It just comes down to where they're at. Would you be opposed to the Cavs moving that pick? Trading it?
No, I wouldn't. If it gets us a player that we can use now, absolutely not. I would not have any problem with that. That would be the smart thing to do. I don't know what we could get for a number 20 pick, but
no idea.
You know, if it's a solid backup point guard or a solid backup wing, yeah, why not?
Sure. And the other kind of it's always a slim chance, it feels like, but there's always that possibility of your team making a trade on draft night, right? It could be the 20th pick and a player for somebody else. Or I saw a report a couple weeks back, and it made no sense really, but it's just, you just never know what's going to happen. But I saw an article of the Cavs were one of several teams that could potentially try to trade up into the draft lottery. It was like us, Portland, and like another team or two. And it's like, what? That doesn't really make sense. Like, you know, and I'm not hearing great things about this draft. Why do the Cavs need to go get the 15th pick? Well, what is that going to do? You know what I mean? But there's always that possibility of your team making some sort of trade that night too, which adds a little bit of excitement to it. And is ultimately what ends up dooming me in every year to tune it into an NBA draft, whether the Cavs have a pick or not, just to see if there's any trades or anything exciting that happens. So we'll see.
Maybe some sort of 3-point specialist would be nice. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but
yeah,
maybe like a Danny Green or a Joe Harris, like that would be.
So here's a fun, and maybe we wrap up with this, Alex. And I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm trying to think of one too. So this could be tough. But who's your most? Give me a favorite underrated Cavs draft pick. Meaning, you know, you can't pick LeBron James. Like that's like not like the best, you know, player they've drafted in like franchise history. Who's like an underrated draft pick that doesn't just get enough love or recognition? Anybody come to mind for you? Sagana Diop,
you mean somebody
Langdon.
that we drafted low and ended up becoming good, or
yeah, like someone like you're like, you know what? He was actually pretty good during his time here. He doesn't get enough love. Or you know what? He turned out much better than what he was supposed to be.
What if he was good, had all the potential in the world, but pissed it away because he couldn't?
Are you talking about Dylan? Are you talking about Dylan Windler again, Alex?
Yeah, no. I was thinking Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah, Kevin Porter Jr.
He could have been something.
That's a could have been. I'm talking about who done did it. who was actually solid, but doesn't get enough love. It's tough.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to think of anybody.
I'm gonna go Andre Miller. If you were a Cavs fan of the Andre Miller era, you have love and appreciation for Andre Miller. If you weren't a Cavs fan during that era, you have no idea who Andre Miller is. And that's a shame, because is he better than Mark Price, Terrell Brandon, Kyrie Irving? No, certainly not. He's probably not far behind that, though. 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. Best Cavs, one of the best Cavs point guards in franchise history. I mean, he was very solid, and I wish the Cavs would have found a way to hold on to him a bit longer. But those years were fun, and he was a great pick, I think, for the Cavs.
Who did he go to?
I want to say he went to Denver. I think that's when he went to Denver, and I
thought I remember him being pretty good with somebody else. Portland, maybe.
I don't know. Now I gotta look though. All right, let's do it. Andre
Philly
stats.
I can picture him in other uniforms, and I remember him being pretty good for somebody.
He went to the Clippers for a single year, and then he went to the Nuggets and played for the Nuggets for 4 years, and then 76ers 3 years, Trailblazers 2 years, and then he finished his career. Or no, I'm sorry, he went back to the Nuggets for another 3 years. Wow, he played 7 years for the Nuggets, and then ended his career with the Washington Wizards, Michael Jordan style, his last 2 years in the NBA. But he's with the Cavs for 3 seasons. That's just not long enough, in my opinion, because those 3 seasons, this is 1999 to 2001, 2002 season. So this is after Terrell Brandon days, basically. You know what I mean? So it's I'll have to look up. I forget what happened with Andre Miller. Did he leave in free agency? Did the Cavs trade him? Why was he not here longer? He should have been here longer.
Yeah, he was a good player. I liked Andre Miller. I always used to use him at NBA Live,
Yeah,
so many seasons in a row. He was always a good player.
His last year in a Cavaliers uniform, 16.5 points, 10.9 assists per game. What? What are we doing?
Yeah.
What happened? I need to know. You know what I mean?
Why do you move a player like that?
Exactly. So, and he played in 81 games, so there was no injury or anything.
And he won Most Improved Player award that season.
There you go. So that's my pick. You got somebody or no?
No, nobody's coming to mind.
Okay.
Somebody the Cavs drafted that turned out to be good,
but is underappreciated. Yeah.
Shoot, I can't think of
Bill Laimbeer. Come on, just pull out good old
Bill Laimbeer is plenty appreciated.
Yeah. Well,
I did see somebody on Twitter. There's some NBA history, that posts players, and they posted about the Cavs drafting Bill Laimbeer and about how much they hated him. It's come on, man.
That's funny.
He never really pissed on the Cavs too much.
He took out Mark Price, I think, once. If I'm not mistaken.
Did he?
It was Bill Laimbeer. Yeah. All right, Alex. We've gone off the rails.
All right.
We talked longer about Andre Miller than we did about the hiring of Kenny Atkinson. So it's time to wrap up this episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast. Thank you always, Cavs fans, for tuning in and listening. And Alex, you want to let them know where they can follow us and connect with us?
Follow us on Twitter at Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Watch this episode on YouTube. Wherever you're listening, click like, subscribe, leave a rating or a review. We'd appreciate it.
All right, Cavs fans, there it is. We will talk to you again soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.